Sometimes the deepest pain doesn't come from a betrayal or a fight. It comes from silence. From being hurt and then left without a word. No explanation, no apology, just the echo of absence. That's what truly breaks you, because you're left not with answers, but with questions that eat away at your peace. Silence doesn't give you closure. It traps you in your own thoughts. And that is why silence can hurt more than revenge. It's not weakness. It's power. A quiet force that shakes your foundation more violently than screaming ever could. In this video, we'll explore 7 powerful reasons why silence can cut deeper than retaliation, through the lens of psychology, philosophy, and Stoic wisdom. We'll uncover why choosing silence is not defeat, but a conscious act of strength, clarity, and control. Segment 1. Silence creates destructive uncertainty. The most brutal wounds aren't caused by actions, but by the questions left unanswered. When someone hurts you and then goes silent, they don't just leave a scar, they leave a void. And a void demands to be filled. That's where your mind spirals. What did I do wrong? Did they ever care? Was it all fake? Unlike open conflict, silence provides no context, no closure, only ambiguity. And in ambiguity, pain multiplies. This uncertainty can be emotionally crippling. It keeps you stuck in a mental loop, replaying moments, second-guessing your worth, rewriting every memory to fit a painful narrative. It's not the silence itself, but what your mind does in that silence that truly wounds you. Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius warned against the tyranny of perception. He taught that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. When someone goes silent, they hand you a blank canvas, and your mind, in pain, paints it in the darkest shades. Silence breeds insecurity, it amplifies self-doubt. And the worst part? It forces you to fight a battle alone with an enemy you can't see, your own assumptions. Over time, that internal chaos erodes your sense of clarity, identity, and emotional safety. In psychology, this is often called ambiguous loss. It's the grief that comes not from someone dying, but from someone disappearing emotionally. The grief that has no funeral, no ceremony, no closure. And that's what makes it so dangerous. It's unprocessed pain looping endlessly. The Stoics would advise, don't chase the silence. Don't fill the gap with worst-case stories. Recognize the silence for what it is, a space. And in that space, you can plant healing or let weeds of doubt grow. The choice, hard as it is, remains yours. Segment 2. Silence is the sharpest emotional weapon. Revenge is loud and visible. Silence is invisible and far more lethal. To be ignored is to be erased. When someone chooses to go silent after hurting you, it's a form of psychological domination. It says, you're not even worth a response, and nothing cuts deeper than feeling invisible to someone who once saw you. Unlike shouting or fighting, silence is clean. It leaves no evidence, no confrontation. But its impact lingers far longer. Psychologists call it emotional withholding, or the silent treatment. A form of passive-aggressive abuse that manipulates and controls through absence. In Stoic philosophy, strength lies in restraint. But there's a line where restraint becomes weaponization. When silence is used to punish, it becomes cruel. It's not about peace, it's about power. Revenge may feel satisfying for a moment, but silence carries a haunting permanence. It makes the hurt last longer, stretch wider, it poisons trust, it kills hope. And worst of all, it teaches you to stay quiet about your pain. Because if they can ignore you once, they can do it again. That is what makes silence such a brutal tool. It attacks not just your feelings, but your sense of self-worth. The Stoics warn us not to place our happiness in the hands of others. But emotional silence makes it feel as if your worth has been judged and found unworthy of engagement. The most powerful thing you can do in response is not to mirror the silence with noise, but to anchor yourself in your own value. To remember, their silence is a reflection of them, not of your worth. When silence is used to harm, the Stoic response is neither to retaliate nor to collapse, but to endure, reflect, and transcend. Because silence may hurt, but it can also make you unbreakable. Segment 3. Silence forces inner confrontation. When the world goes quiet, you're forced to face the one voice you've been avoiding, your own. Silence leaves you alone with your thoughts, and sometimes that's more terrifying than conflict. There's no distraction, no noise, no external opinion, just you, your memories, and your emotions. It's in this vacuum that self-reflection begins, often painfully so. Many people fear silence because it uncovers everything they've tried to bury. Past wounds, regrets, insecurities, and yet this confrontation is necessary. In the teachings of Stoicism, discomfort is the beginning of growth. When you sit with your pain in silence, you stop running from it and start learning from it. Silence teaches you to observe your thoughts instead of reacting to them. It shows you the difference between emotion and truth, between narrative and reality. And once you can sit still with yourself and not flinch, you become unshakable. That's the irony. Silence, though painful at first, becomes the very tool that makes you emotionally stronger. It demands that you look inward, sort through your own chaos, and emerge with clarity. It's the silence after the storm, and it can either destroy you or become your breakthrough. Segment 4. Silence breaks the cycle of emotional escalation. In a world addicted to reaction, silence is a radical form of self-mastery. Conflict often spirals because we feel compelled to respond, defend, retaliate. Every word fuels the fire, every reaction raises the stakes. But when you respond with silence, you break the cycle. You disrupt the rhythm of attack and counterattack. You choose peace over pride. Silence doesn't mean weakness, it means control. It's the ability to step back and say, I will not let this pull me into chaos. That kind of restraint is not passive, it's powerful. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, once wrote, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage." In the same way, to stay silent when provoked can be an act of supreme strength. Choosing silence is a refusal to feed conflict. It allows space for de-escalation, for calm, for thought. And sometimes that space is what saves relationships, or saves you from the emotional wreckage of one. By remaining silent, you protect your inner peace. You preserve your energy. You declare to the world, I won't be dragged into a war that offers me nothing but emptiness. Segment 5. Silence is a statement of self-worth. When you choose silence, you're not giving up. You're rising above. There's immense dignity in silence, in not pleading, not chasing, not explaining to someone who has already decided not to understand. Silence says, I respect myself too much to beg for your attention. It's easy to confuse silence with surrender, but in truth, it's the opposite. It's a conscious choice to exit the emotional tug-of-war, to not let your peace depend on someone else's reaction, or lack thereof. In Stoic thought, this is the essence of autonomy. You are responsible for your own mind, not for how others behave. Choosing silence is choosing self-respect. You decide that your energy is sacred, that your voice will not be wasted on those who only want to misuse it. When you remain silent, you take back your power. You show that your value isn't negotiable, that you don't need to shout to be heard or prove your worth to be seen. And most importantly, you demonstrate that you're no longer waiting for someone else to validate your pain. Segment 6. Silence is the language of the healed. Healed people don't need revenge. They find peace in silence. When someone hurts you, it's natural to want to respond, to make them feel what you felt. But healing transforms that need. It doesn't erase the pain, but it changes your relationship to it. You no longer want to hurt them. You just want to move on. Silence becomes a sign that you're no longer seeking closure from the source of your wounds. You've made peace with the unanswered questions. You've found meaning in your own growth. That's what healing does. It turns silence from torment into power. The Stoics taught that we should not rely on external events to define our peace. True healing happens when you stop needing apologies or revenge and start investing in your own calm. Silence, then, becomes a choice. A beautiful, intentional decision to prioritize yourself. You stop talking about what they did. You stop replaying the story. You stop needing them to understand because you finally understood yourself, and that's enough. Segment 7. Silence is the highest form of emotional intelligence. In a noisy world of overreaction, silence is the ultimate wisdom. The loudest people are often the least sure of themselves. Noise can be a mask, a way to distract from inner chaos, but silence? That's clarity, that's strength, that's control. Emotionally intelligent people don't speak to prove a point. They speak with intention, or not at all. They know that sometimes silence says everything that needs to be said. When you remain silent, you give yourself space to think, to feel, and to respond. If it's even worth responding, you refuse to waste energy on people or situations that don't align with your values. And that kind of discernment is rare, especially today. Stoicism is built on the principle that wisdom begins in silence. By choosing not to react, you protect your emotional integrity. You refuse to let others manipulate your peace. And that restraint, that stillness, becomes your superpower. Silence is not the absence of strength. It's the presence of wisdom, of healing, of power. It's what separates those who are reactive from those who are reflective. If you've ever been broken by someone's silence, or if you're learning to find peace in your own, this message is for you. Don't let the world mistake your silence for weakness. Let it be your armor. Let it be your choice. Comment below. My silence is strength, not surrender. Share this video with someone who's silently fighting battles they don't talk about. And if you found this meaningful, subscribe Queen Stoic, because sometimes the loudest truth lives in silence.